In the heart of Kenya's political storm stands one man, a name that evokes passion, loyalty, and debate in equal measure. A man who has lived through exile, imprisonment, betrayal, and yet, still walks tall with the spirit of resistance burning in his eyes. His story is not just about politics. It's about sacrifice, resilience, and an unbroken dream, the dream of a better Kenya.
In every generation, there comes a man whose life mirrors the struggles of his people, their pain, their hope, their endless pursuit of justice. In Kenya, that man is Raila Amolo Odinga. Loved by millions, hated by some, respected by all, Raila's story is not just about politics. It's about resilience. It's about a man who has been jailed, betrayed, celebrated, and denied, yet never stopped believing that one day, the voice of Wananchi, the people, would rise above power. Today, we trace the extraordinary life of Raila Odinga, Baba, the people's president, and perhaps Kenya's most determined political fighter. Early life and education. Raila Amolo Odinga was born on January 7, 1945, in Maseno, in Kenya's Nyanza region. He was the son of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, a man who fought alongside Jomo Kenyatta for Kenya's independence, and later became the nation's first vice president. From an early age, Raila's home was filled with the sounds of political debate, liberation songs, and the constant whisper of danger. His father was bold, sometimes too bold for the times, and young Raila learned that standing for truth often came with a price. He attended Alliance High School, one of the most prestigious institutions in colonial Kenya, where he was known for his curiosity and sharp intellect. In 1962, Raila left Kenya for East Germany, part of a Cold War-era scholarship program that sent African students to study in the socialist bloc. There, at the Technical University of Magdeburg, he studied mechanical engineering. But Germany gave him more than just education, it opened his eyes to ideology, freedom, and the possibility of a government that could serve its people. He returned home in the 1970s, a young man full of ideas, ambition, and the quiet determination to change Kenya. Return and early political struggles. Back in Kenya, Raila became a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, teaching engineering. Later, he founded his own company, Standard Processing Equipment Construction, SPEL, a small industrial firm that specialized in manufacturing. But even as he built machines, politics flowed through his veins. His father, Jaramogi, had fallen out with President Jomo Kenyatta, accusing him of abandoning the ideals of independence. This feud made the Odinga family both famous and feared. Raila tried to stay away from politics, but as the years passed, the injustices, corruption, and silencing of dissent under President Daniel Arap Moi became too much to ignore. And then came 1982. The 1982 coup and imprisonment. In August 1982, a group of Air Force officers attempted to overthrow Moi's government. The coup failed, but it changed Raila's life forever. He was accused of being part of the conspiracy. There was no trial, no proof, only suspicion and fear. Raila was arrested and detained without trial. For 6 years, he endured solitary confinement, torture, and interrogation. He later recalled, "In those years, I lost track of time. The only thing that kept me alive was faith, and the thought of my family." Released in 1988, he was rearrested multiple times, in 1989, 1990, and 1991, for speaking out against Moi's regime. But each time they locked him up, Raila came out stronger. He had become the symbol of resistance, a voice for the oppressed. The dawn of multi-party democracy. By the early 1990s, Kenya was at a crossroads. The people had had enough of dictatorship and fear. A movement began, a call for democracy. In 1991, Raila and his father Jaramogi joined forces with other brave reformists to form the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy, FORD. It was a bold act. FORD became the beating heart of the struggle for multi-party politics. Their rallies drew thousands, and the regime trembled. In 1992, under immense international and domestic pressure, President Moi finally repealed Section 2A of the Constitution, ending one-party rule. Kenya was free to choose. But even freedom came with fractures. Ford split into factions, Ford Kenya, led by Jaramogi, and Ford Asili, led by Kenneth Matiba. The split weakened the opposition, and Moi won again in 1992. When Jaramogi died in 1994, the weight of his legacy fell squarely on Raila's shoulders. He refused to give up. In 1997, he ran for president under his new party, the National Development Party, NDP, finishing third, but proving he was a national force. Then, in a stunning twist, Raila did the unexpected. He merged his NDP with Moi's KANU, joining the government as Minister of Energy. Critics called it betrayal, supporters called it strategy. But Raila knew, sometimes, you must walk inside the system to change it. The Kibaki era and the 2007 election. In 2002, Raila broke from KANU and formed a powerful coalition, the National Rainbow Coalition, NARC. His electrifying words, Kibaki Tosha. Kibaki is the one. United the opposition and ended Moi's 24-year rule. It was one of the most iconic moments in Kenyan political history. Raila became Minister for Roads, Public Works and Housing, but soon, cracks appeared in the coalition. Disagreements over the constitution, corruption, and power-sharing led to deep mistrust. In 2005, Raila led the Orange team in the constitutional referendum, opposing Kibaki's proposal. The Orange triumphed, and the symbol became his new political brand, Orange Democratic Movement, ODM. Then came 2007, the election that shook Kenya. Raila faced Mwai Kibaki in a tense, polarized race. When results were announced, the Electoral Commission declared Kibaki the winner. Raila's supporters cried foul. Violence erupted. Over 1,000 people died and hundreds of thousands were displaced. After weeks of turmoil, a peace deal was reached. Kibaki remained president, Raila became prime minister in a power-sharing government, the first in Kenya's history. Despite everything, he worked to rebuild the nation, overseeing major reforms, infrastructure projects, and the writing of the 2010 Constitution, a historic milestone. The handshake and legacy. Raila contested again in 2013 and 2017, both times claiming victory was stolen. After boycotting the 2017 rerun election, he took a bold step, declaring himself the people's president at Uhuru Park in January 2018. The move divided the nation, but a few months later, something unexpected happened. Raila and President Uhuru Kenyatta publicly shook hands on March 9, 2018. The handshake stunned the world, ending years of political hostility and birthing the Building Bridges Initiative, BBI, a plan to unite the country. To many, the handshake symbolized forgiveness, to others, compromise. But for Raila, it was a statement that peace and unity mattered more than power. 2022 elections and the future. In 2022, Raila made what might be his final bid for the presidency, backed by the powerful Azimio la Umoja coalition and endorsed by outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta. His rival, William Ruto, ran a populist campaign as the hustler championing ordinary Kenyans. The race was fierce, emotional, and divisive. When results were announced, the IEBC declared Ruto the winner. Raila rejected the outcome and went to court, but once again, his petition was dismissed. It was his fifth presidential loss. Many thought that would be the end of Baba's political journey. But Raila has never been one to fade quietly. In 2023, he led nationwide protests over the high cost of living and electoral justice, drawing huge crowds despite government crackdowns. Even now, in his late 70s, he continues to shape Kenya's politics, speaking of unity, justice, and good governance.
In 2024, he was nominated for the African Union Commission chairperson, proof that his influence stretches far beyond Kenya's borders. Conclusion. For over 5 decades, Raila Odinga has stood at the heart of Kenya's story, its triumphs and tragedies, its hopes and heartbreaks. He has been a prisoner and a prime minister, a rebel and a reconciler, a symbol of defiance and resilience. To his supporters, he is the embodiment of endurance, Baba wa Taifa. To his critics, a man who refused to let go of ambition. But beyond politics, Raila Odinga represents something bigger, the unbreakable spirit of a nation that never stops dreaming. Maybe he will never wear the presidential crown. But in the hearts of millions, Raila Amolo Odinga will forever remain the people's president.